I'm 26, male, born and raised in a mid-sized American city where everyone pretends they don't notice each other, but somehow still knows your business. I work a regular job, pay my bills, mind my lane. I'm the kind of guy who believes small moments matter, because sometimes a small moment decides the direction of your whole year. Mine started at a bus stand on a humid evening. She was standing 2 steps ahead of me, digging through her wallet, panic creeping into her shoulders. The driver was already annoyed. Tapping the steering wheel like time personally offended him. She turned around and asked the line, quietly, if anyone had changed. Nobody moved. People suddenly found the sky very interesting. I had a few singles. I handed them over without thinking. She looked surprised, then relieved. "I'll pay you back," she said. "It's fine," I said. "Just get home." That should have been the end of it. That's how most things are supposed to end. She sat 2 rows behind me. A few stops later, she tapped my shoulder. "At least let me give you my number. I don't like owing people." I gave her mine. That felt harmless too. We started texting that night. Small talk. Work complaints. Bad coffee opinions. She was funny in a dry way, the kind that sneaks up on you. We started meeting up, usually after work. Coffee turned into late walks. Late walks turn into sharing things you don't share unless you trust someone not to misuse them. I fell first. I didn't announce it. I didn't rush it. I just rearranged my life quietly around her presence. A few weeks in, she said it. Not dramatically, almost casually. "There's someone else," she said, staring into her cup. "It's complicated." I nodded like I understood. I didn't, but I nodded anyway. She said she wasn't with him, that they had history, that he was going through things, that she didn't want to hurt anyone. That should have been my cue to walk. Instead, I stayed. I told myself I was being patient, not foolish. That patience would eventually look like integrity. The other guy existed like a shadow, always there, never fully present. A text she wouldn't explain, a sudden change of plans, a look on her face when his name came up, like she was bracing for impact. One night, after she canceled on me for the 3rd time that week, I asked her directly, "Are you choosing him?" She didn't answer right away. That was the answer. "I just need time," she said. "Time is expensive." I kept paying anyway. The first fight happened over something small. It always does. She'd promised we'd spend the evening together. I turned down overtime. I even cooked, which is not a casual act for me. 2 hours before, she texted, "He needs me tonight." I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I just said, "I need you sometimes too." She snapped back that I was being unfair, that I knew the situation, that I didn't get to make demands. That word stuck with me. Demands. I wasn't asking for ownership. I was asking for honesty. After that, things shifted. She started pulling away, then pulling me back just enough to keep me from leaving. Mixed signals dressed up as vulnerability. Then I met him. Not officially. He showed up while we were together, unannounced, like he owned the air around her. He ignored me completely and talked to her like I was furniture. Later, she apologized for his behavior. "He's just protective," she said. No, he was territorial. That's when the entitlement started showing itself clearly. He didn't see me as a person. I was an obstacle, something temporary, something to be managed. He started messaging me. Nothing overt at first, just subtle pressure. "You seem like a decent guy. This is bigger than you. Don't make this messy." Messy. Like my feelings were a spill someone else had to clean up. I told him to stop contacting me. He didn't. Instead, he went around me. He started telling people I was unstable, that I was obsessed, that I was causing her stress. He framed himself as the calm one, the long-suffering one, the rightful constant in her life. She started repeating his words back to me without realizing it. "You're overthinking. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Why can't you just be understanding like he is?" That's when I realized something important. This wasn't about love. It was about control. And I was done playing the quiet role in someone else's story. But I didn't walk away yet. Because before I left, I needed the truth. And once I saw it clearly, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. I started paying attention in a way I hadn't before. Not the anxious kind of attention, but the calm, detached kind you get when something inside you is already snapped into place. She began lying casually. Not big lies. Small ones. The kind people tell when they assume you won't challenge them. She's just a friend, she said once, referring to a late-night call she took outside my apartment. Later I saw the notification pop up again. Same name, same pattern, different excuse. He's moving on, she told me another time. That same week, he posted a photo with her reflection clearly visible in the background of his apartment window. Not accidental. He wanted to be seen. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed to understand the whole board before moving a single piece. That's when the dirty tricks escalated. He emailed my workplace anonymously, implying I was harassing her. Nothing specific, just enough vague language to raise eyebrows. HR called me and just to check. No action taken, but the message was clear. He wasn't bluffing anymore. When I told her about it, she froze. He wouldn't do that, she said too quickly. I looked at her and realized she already knew the answer. She just didn't want to say it out loud. Then came the entitlement in full display. He showed up at her place while I was there and demanded I leave. Not asked, demanded. He said it was in everyone's best interest. He spoke like he was negotiating a contract that already belonged to him. I said no. He stepped closer, voice low. You're temporary. That word again. She didn't stop him. She didn't defend me. She stood there, silent, letting him redraw the boundaries of my existence. That was the moment something settled in me. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was clear. I told her I was done. Not dramatically. Not with speeches. Just one sentence. I won't compete with someone who thinks I'm disposable. She cried. She said she never meant for things to get this far. She said she felt trapped between two worlds. I didn't argue. I just left. For a week, I went completely quiet. No texts. No explanations. No closure conversations. That's when he panicked. He started reaching out again, this time less subtle. Accusations. Threats dressed up as concern. He said if I didn't stay away, things could get complicated. Here's what entitled people don't understand. Silence isn't weakness. It's preparation. I had screenshots, messages, call logs, emails, timestamps. Not because I planned revenge from the start, but because I'm methodical by nature. NCC training does that to you. You document. You observe. You wait. I consulted a lawyer. A real one. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't dramatize. I laid out facts. Harassment. Defamation. Workplace interference. The lawyer smiled in that calm way that means someone else made a very expensive mistake. We sent a cease and desist letter first. Proper channels. Certified mail. He ignored it. That's when we filed. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. The guy who thrived on intimidation now had to explain himself on record. Under oath. With timelines that didn't match his stories. With concerned emails that sounded a lot like manipulation when read aloud in a legal setting. She reached out then. Apologetic. Shaken. I didn't know it went this far, she said. I told her the truth. You always knew. You just benefited from pretending you didn't. That hurt her more than yelling ever could. The case moved slowly, like all real consequences do. Mediation. Hearings. Paperwork. No shortcuts. No theatrics. He tried one last move. He offered to settle privately, if I dropped everything. No admission of wrongdoing. Just money and silence. That was the final proof. This was never about misunderstanding. It was about getting away with it. I refused. Because at that point, this wasn't about her anymore. It was about making sure people like him couldn't keep treating others like collateral damage. And the real confrontation was still coming. Once the legal process started, everything slowed down on the surface and sped up underneath. He stopped messaging me directly. Instead, he tried to work the edges. Mutual friends suddenly reached out with concern that didn't sound like concern. Are you okay, man? Maybe you should just let this go. You don't want to ruin lives over misunderstandings. Misunderstandings don't come with fake emails, documented intimidation, and a pattern that looks identical every time you zoom out. I kept my responses short, polite, boring. Nothing feeds manipulators less than predictability. The discovery phase exposed more than I expected. Turns out, I wasn't the first. 2 other guys before me had similar stories. Not identical, but close enough to make a pattern impossible to deny. Same escalation, same territorial behavior, same attempt to paint himself as the reasonable one while quietly burning bridges behind the scenes. One of them even testified. Calm, clear, no dramatics. That shifted the room. His lawyer started objecting more often. That's usually not a good sign. She showed up to one of the hearings. Not to support me, not to confront him. She came to watch. She sat behind him, eyes darting between us like she was finally seeing the full picture she'd avoided assembling for months. When his lawyer twisted facts, her face tightened. When timelines didn't line up, she flinched. At one point, he glanced back at her, expecting reassurance. She didn't give it. That silence did more damage than any argument. Then came his last dirty trick. 2 days before a key hearing, I was served with a restraining order request. He claimed I was stalking him now, that I was retaliating, that he feared for his safety. It was sloppy, rushed, full of contradictions. My lawyer didn't even look surprised. We responded within hours, attaching evidence that dismantled the claim piece by piece. Location data, witness statements, message logs showing zero contact after the cease and desist. When the judge reviewed it, the request was denied on the spot. Not only denied, noted. That note mattered. From that moment on, his credibility evaporated. During cross-examination, he cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically. Subtle things. Answering questions he wasn't asked. Over-explaining. Getting irritated at neutral phrasing. Entitled people struggle when the rules apply equally. Then came a question he wasn't ready for. Why did you contact his employer instead of law enforcement if you believed he was a threat? Silence. No good answer exists for that. The ruling didn't come immediately. Judges rarely rush. But when it did, it was thorough. He was found liable for harassment and defamation. Ordered to pay damages. Issued a permanent no-contact order. Required to complete court-mandated behavioral counseling. Not a slap on the wrist. A record. Consequences don't scream. They settle in quietly and stay. Outside the courthouse, she approached me. She didn't cry this time. She didn't apologize either. She just said, I see it now. I believed her, and it didn't change anything. I hope you choose better, I told her. For yourself. Then I walked away. The revenge wasn't loud. There was no public humiliation campaign. No victory speech. It was watching someone who thought rules were optional realize they weren't. It was knowing the next time he tried this, the paper trail would already be waiting. That satisfaction didn't come from winning. It came from not backing down, and from understanding something important. Sometimes the strongest move isn't leaving quietly. It's staying just long enough to make sure the truth sticks. There is only one loose end left, and it wasn't him. The loose end was me. That surprised me more than anything else. After the ruling, after the no-contact order, after the apologies that came too late and meant too little, I expected relief to arrive like a switch flipping. Instead, there was this quiet hum of leftover tension, like my body hadn't gotten the memo that the danger was over. For weeks, I kept replaying moments. Not the big ones. The small ones I'd ignored. The pauses in her voice. The way she never corrected him when he spoke over me. The way I kept translating disrespect into complex emotions, because it felt kinder than admitting the truth. I didn't miss her. I missed who I thought I was while trying to save something that never asked to be saved. She tried reaching out one last time, through a mutual contact, since she legally couldn't contact me directly because of the case's scope. The message was simple. She wanted to talk. She said she finally understood what she'd allowed. I declined, not out of anger, out of clarity. Understanding after damage isn't growth. It's accounting. What stayed with me was how close I came to accepting a version of myself that begged for basic respect. How easily patience can turn into self-erasure if you don't check it. A month later, I ran into her by accident. Grocery store. Same bus stand energy, different outcome. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, just unanchored. We nodded. Nothing more. That was enough. Here's the part people usually expect to be dramatic, but isn't. My life didn't transform overnight. I didn't suddenly become fearless or enlightened. I just stopped negotiating with disrespect. At work, in friendships, in my own head. And that changed everything quietly. The guy who once thought intimidation worked now has a legal record that follows him. The kind that shows up during background checks and professional reviews. The kind that forces pauses in rooms he used to dominate. The system didn't destroy him. His entitlement did. As for me, I learned something I wish I'd learned earlier. Love that requires you to shrink isn't love. Silence that costs you dignity isn't peace. And walking away isn't weakness when staying means betraying yourself. If you made it this far, congratulations. You've got more patience than I did back then. Stick around, subscribe, or follow, whatever button exists, because apparently I have a talent for surviving chaos and turning it into stories people can't stop reading.